certified eidetic imaging trainer. I've trained extensively with Dr. Akhtar Ahsan, the pioneering founder of image psychology. I'm very happy to have with me today two people joining in showing how to enter into this newfound realm of imagination that we all live, learn, play, and grow in as children. Good. All right. Well, I'd like you both to do some starting moves that will help you enter into this realm of imagination more readily and more deeply. So first of all, I would like you to do a body scan. And that means just simply concentrating on your toes and the balls of your feet and your arches, and on in that detail, noticing all the little sensations that you ordinarily overlook, and going up to your chin and down to your fingertips, and then from your chin to the crown of your head. And it is good to start as you are doing with your eyes closed. And then when you've completed it, and take your time, open your eyes, let me know you've completed it. Body scan. All right. So a lot of this has to do with learning how to take our own sweet growing time, and we're not used to doing that, but it's extremely helpful. So now, doing the body scan that you just did, you may notice that you feel more grounded, and that helps to begin your concentration. And now I'd like you to do some deep breathing, and breathe as deeply as the sea. Don't force the breathing, but just take a deep breath and let it out. And just do it in a relaxing way. And let me know when you feel your mind is more settled into your body. You feel that change that takes place?
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. All right, because the central aspect of this work is reconnecting with our body, which we've been leaving out of our picture. So you'll be noticing throughout this, I'm always asking you to look at the image and ask your body, where are you feeling it? How is it touching you? How is it moving you? And that may seem redundant, but we need to practice to get back in touch with this, what we've been overlooking, which is central to us. So, seeing our way clear is the expression that I chose as the signature for my teaching of eidetic imaging. And for starters, I want to show you the new way I concentrate that enables me to see and sense far more deeply and clearly than I could ever do before, even though I had been a poet for 25 years before I started studying this form of imaging. I'm going to see an image playing like a movie in front of my mind's eye and sense exactly how it is touching and moving me. Then I'm going to ask you to see what I'm saying. You'll see how others who are with me, you in the audience will see how the others who are with me now do this, so you have our examples to go on. So you can do this with your eyes closed, and that's probably easier at the beginning because you're not then fending off the distractions around you in the room. I can now do it as well with my eyes wide open. So I see myself as a child of 8, sitting in the stern of a canoe with a paddle across my knees. And as I see the paddle across my knees, I, as an imager, begin to feel a squaring off in my own shoulders and even going somewhat down my back. And I feel my spine straighten out as I concentrate on seeing the paddle across her knees. Now I see her feet planted on the rounded boards of the hull of the canoe. And as I see both feet planted, I feel my whole body squaring off, and the strength throughout my body is becoming much more of a sturdy framework. Now, just concentrating on the image and giving it a little time, she makes a new move, and I see her making a paddle stroke, very strong paddle stroke. And as she pulls this paddle straight back, I feel that strengthening going all the way from my feet, entirely through my body, up from my seat, up my back, into the top of my head. I, as imager, am feeling the strength of watching her make this paddling stroke. And I absorb that. I give myself time to let that new energy that's coming through to me from the image reverberate in my body. Kind of just let it happen more. And the more time I give it, the more I feel it. And the more I experience it, and the more strength and clarity it gives me. And now, all of a sudden, I see an older me standing in the stern of the canoe, and just standing perfectly still, and the canoe is gliding along very peacefully. And it's on the strength of that stroke. That's what the image is telling me, that on the strength of her taking that very direct stroke, there's now this momentum of gliding forward. And that's pleasing, that's profoundly pleasing to me, because I have a history of being very shy and backward and withdrawn and going into a lot of drawbacks. So seeing that forward inner momentum just gliding out of me just gives me great pleasure and a sense of pride and joy. And I can feel the relaxation of the smile in my eyes. I feel my jaw relax. I even feeling relaxation. My shoulders are like settling down. And I feel gladness in my chest. Feel gladness in my heart. So I call my wise inner child Janie. So that's my image of Janie canoeing. And now what I'd like you both to do is see yourself in my shoes and tell us what you're seeing and sensing. So whichever one of you wants to do this aloud with me now, I'll change seats with you for the sake of the camera. Who would like to do it first? Okay. So what I'm asking you to do is an empathy image where you see yourself in my shoes. You put your character into my scene and let your image roll its own way. The idea is not to conform to my image, but to use my image as a starting point.
Okay, I see myself as a young girl who's 8 years old, and I'm in a bathing suit, and I'm sitting in the canoe, and I'm picking up the paddle, and I'm feeling the strength of being centered in the canoe right now. That's how I feel. I feel very centered. The water.
Where in your body are you feeling the centering?
I'm just feeling it from my head to my toes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm picking up the paddle and realizing that I can move forward, and I'm, taking the paddle and I start just using the paddle and moving the water, and I'm going forward, and I'm feeling extremely relaxed, extremely happy, because I feel I'm in control of going forward.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my image as a young girl.
All right. So when we're doing this, then your image brings new image to my mind. So it prompts my image to grow. So when I saw you move this way, then I saw your paddle going in, and then I saw this wonderful swirling of water. And my whole body just sort of went into the deliciousness of that swirling.
Right.
So in that way, we give each other these gifts of energy and vision by sharing these images in this way. Okay. So, all right, great. All right, so, you want to change seats with,
Yes.
Okay.
So, the idea is we really want to see the person who's doing the imaging full body, because this is whole body work. All right.
Well, what I pictured was me as,
Excuse me, I'm going to have to interrupt you just straight off. When we're doing this, we need to do it in the present tense. So even if you're calling it up an image you saw a minute ago, you still want to call it to mind and see it playing as a current event in front of your mind's eye. And the reason for that is that when we go into the past tense, we go into memory consciousness, and that's a whole nother kettle of fish. So reporting the image in the present tense is all important. So forgive me for interrupting you.
oh no, thank you for I didn't know that as a ground rule. I'm in my 30s, early 30s, on a lake. I know exactly where the lake is, it's very clear. In the back of the canoe, the exciting part, it's two parts. I'm feeling the strength of pushing that water backward, and then the thrill of standing up and being centered,
Mm-hmm.
balanced,
Mm-hmm.
because I know it's not easy, but I feel balanced and centered and going in a direction that I want to go, and I feel the breeze on my face and the blue all around me, and some birds. So it's a really pleasant feeling, and it's more than that, it's exhilarating because, well, I'm not sure why it's exhilarating. It just feels exhilarating. The combination of strength and centeredness and balance and having a direction and knowing where I want to go and leading myself in that direction, it all feels exhilarating to me.
All right, beautiful. So as I hear your description, I almost make a gondolier of you. I don't actually see that long oar, but that was the feeling I had of that strength going, with you standing, and then it was as if you had a gondolier paddle. All right, so
Molto bene.
so what happened as you were hearing his image? What happened for you? Did you see? Did an image come to your mind?
Well, I was just thinking about the energy actually of the water,
Mm-hmm.
and how he didn't really understand why he was exhilarated, but I saw perfectly why he was. His motions were passing energy from the water into him.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I felt.
Okay. So let me ask you. I didn't ask you before. I'd like you to see you making the stroke. And as you see that you're making a stroke in the image, just tell me your body response in as detailed a manner as possible.
Well, when I'm making the stroke, I'm using not just my arms, but from my torso, I'm moving my body this way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting a lot of strength behind it. I've got my whole lower body, the torso, the shoulders, the arms, even the wrist at the end. Then I pull the oar out, and I do the same thing on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, and then again. And Jan reminded me that the power and that feeling of pushing the water away and propelling myself in this lake is exciting.
Okay, now go ahead. There are two. This is very precise and multifaceted and subtle. So you want to get into the habit of looking at each move. So look at the pulling.
Okay.
And ask your body, where is that touching me? How is that moving me?
Well, I'm feeling at one eye. The mind and body I feel are connected here.
Mm-hmm.
My mind is directing this desire to move, to push the oar this way,
Mm-hmm.
to push the water out of the way, and I'm getting an immediate response. It's
Okay.
I have a desire, I'm doing something, and the boat is responding, and that's part of the exhilaration or the excitement.
Okay, so what I just want to focus on right this minute is you pushing. See that you're pushing the water, and
Mhm.
how specifically does that touch you and move your body? Just that particular aspect of the movement, pushing.
It's really wonderful. It's a release.
Mm-hmm.
Every stroke is a release, and
A release where?
a release of energy, a release of potential energy in me. Is the promise, and then there's the release and the actual movement propelling myself forward. The words are hard to come by. It's hard to explain the feeling, but it's like sneezing. You know, you release, release, and
Okay.
release, and release. So and in fact, I do row. I live on a lake and I row a lot. So I mean, I know.
Okay.
That's why I love doing it. It's a great exercise.
Yeah, so as sometimes, at first especially, we're a little squeamish in describing our body responses, but if I hear you correctly, just the recognition, the more detailed recognition of what's happening in your body actually enhances the experience of the power, right?
I think
Because
you're
we're
right.
used to skimming over instead of dwelling into and really appreciating. So then that magnifies the experience, which is part of what's thrilling, because we're used to kind of hiding, you know, and sort of in the humiliating attitudes that we totally unaware of having. So this enables us, oh, I can do this, right? Yeah, so it enables us to enjoy our powers that we've been, hush-hush about, right?
Well, I wouldn't say I've been hush-hush since I actually do row,
Mm-hmm.
but I just let my natural feelings and instincts and physical, the physicality just take over, and that's why I go out and row so often. It's not just for the exercise; it's for the exhilaration.
Mm-hmm.
My muscles know that, my body knows that. I haven't maybe necessarily thought about it, but I've experienced it. That joy of pushing that water backward. I know what it's like.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now, if just, what does, how to put this? I want people to see this image as kind of a figurehead as far as what is eidetic imaging, so that this image can sort of stand in the forefront of their idea of something that otherwise can seem very complicated or esoteric, that this be like that sculpture at the front of the boat that's breasting the seas. So just off the top now, just looking at seeing yourself canoeing and seeing this experience of imaging, What, is there something new that this is telling you about imaging?
I'm realizing how powerful an image is. When you've asked me to see something, how it's affecting my mind and my body.
Mm-hmm.
And in this particular case, I'm feeling energy, and I felt very centered.
Mm-hmm.
The way you set up this exercise.
Okay, if you look at your image now, right now, would you look at your image again? And tell us what you're seeing and what you're sensing.
Well, I'm 8 years old still, because I love that age, and I have pigtails, and I'm just sitting, relaxed, and just moving continuously. There's like a rhythm. I'm feeling the rhythm.
Okay, so now 2 or 3 new features came. See, these images are images in time, and they're not on replay like memory images. So look at the pigtails, and as you look at the pigtails, how does that touch you as imager? How does that move you, concentrating on the pigtails?
The pigtails are just, they're sweet. It's the sweetness.
Mm-hmm. And where in your body here are you feeling that?
In my heart, I'm feeling
Okay.
the sweetness.
Okay. And then there was the new aspect to the movement. As you looked in again, okay?
Rhythm, the
And
rhythm.
as you concentrate on that rhythm in the image now, how is that touching you? How is that moving you?
It's just making my breathing very natural, so that I'm not breathing here, I'm breathing
Yes.
from my core.
Yes.
And that's really healing for me, to be breathing correctly.
Yes, absolutely.
So
All
that's
right.
really, gives me a great deal of contentment.
Okay. So you can see the satisfaction in looking into the image for a progressive experience rather than a replay. All right? So now, how about you? Look at your image again and see what's happening with it now.
Well, there's a lot of satisfaction in feeling my own body strength. I feel it in my upper body, I feel it in my biceps and triceps, I feel it in the core, from the waist down. So there's satisfaction in the strength, and then the immediate reward of seeing the scenery go this way as I push on the water. That's exciting. I'm getting instant gratification, instant results. I have a desire, it transfers to my arms, I mean, I feel it here, that strength, and then I get rewarded immediately by watching, hearing the water and watching the scenery go this way, and I'm propelling forward. So.
Okay, so you brought a new ingredient in now. What happens if you concentrate on hearing the water? Where does that touch you? How does that move you?
Oh, it's part of the whole kinetic experience. That's right, I'm hearing the water. I'm hearing also the oar slapping on the water surface, and then just the whoosh of the wooden paddle against the water.
Okay, 3 notes now. I want you to concentrate on the 3 notes and see if you can feel the difference in your body. Our bodies are the instrument that these images play. And each facet of these images is like a different note. So let's take note of that. So hear it, hear the oar, and then here you have 3 different notes. And notice how it touches you and moves you slightly different ways.
I can add the note of olfactory sense. I can smell the way the lake feels. I feel the drops of water on me when the oar doesn't go in perfectly and it sprays me. I can hear the seagulls or sometimes the geese that are flying. I can hear their wings flapping. It's all part of these notes that you're talking about. But I mean, it's vivid, when I actually get into that space and
All right, so that's really beautiful. You see that once you give it a little time, a little concentration, then this opens up for you, and there's all these different features that are begin to show up. We didn't know about that at first, right?
right, I didn't
Now-
think about it. I didn't think to
Okay,
edit
but
because
just
it wasn't really there in my image.
But it was.
It-
Now it's
it's
coming
hidden,
forward
yeah.
because you gave it your attention. You know, attention, the root meaning means
To
towards
attend.
holding.
What?
Towards holding. Tenor, I believe, of my etymology is
Tenir, yeah, well, it means to have.
hold. To hold. So you hold your attention to this, and then you discover this whole vibrant world that we've just overlooking. So this is it, you know, to come fully alive, and all of that is imprinted in us. And if we give it some attention, we can see how to enjoy it and how to shape our attention spans and our health and our performance and our creativity.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
So, the benefit seems to me tomorrow when I go down to the lake and take I have a rowboat, take the rowboat out, I'm going to be experiencing it differently.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can connect it to the deeper experience I've had here,
Mm-hmm.
and really probably we'll see tomorrow, but I probably enjoy the entire gestalt, the entire experience more
Mm-hmm.
because I'm giving it my attention. I'm attending to it. That's beautiful.
And you, by just doing this, giving each other permission to appreciate all the subtleties of experience that we're just going.
That's great. Cool.
So that you know, people are. I remember when I saw Austin, my mentor, Dr. Austin, who's the founder of this work of image psychology, and he was presenting at Esalen, the Holistic Health Center on the Pacific, and he said it's very hard for people to be present, and people talk a lot about trying to be present. Well, this is how you do it, you know, feel it out. You can't ever make yourself be present, but when you start slurping around in your canoe, then you get with it. So I call this with it consciousness, and we live in what I call about consciousness, which just automatically distances us. But this just inherently invites us to get in touch with the image on our mind, and then when we share it, it gets across to other people very vividly. So we're on the same image, which is a lot better experience than being on the same page, which is very precarious. I mean, how can we be on this? It's ridiculous and just on the face of it, right? But we can have a lot of thrills and illumination by being on the same image. We see how related we are, how unique we are, all at the same time. It's not a conflict. We're contributing.
Right.
Yes.
We are tributaries
Yeah.
to each other's illumination and liberation of movement, freedom of movement. And that's the essence of what I want people to understand from this one image and from the whole process.
Very fun. That was great.
Interesting.
Thank you.